Hey people, I'm Mark Ryan, licensed acupuncturist and herbalist from Hashimoto'sHealing.com. And welcome to the second video of my four-part series on implementing the A.P.A.R.T system from my new book, Roadmap to Remission. So far we've covered mindset and what you need to do to get in the right frame of mind to heal. And that's get out of the victim loop and into the accountability loop. And a key aspect to being accountable is taking action. And that's exactly what the A.P.A.R.T system was designed for. Right? To give you a system for taking action and then evaluating the actions that you took. And then to figure out what worked and what didn't work. Then you have something to build on and you know when to try something different. In this video, we're going to apply that system and I'm going to actually walk you through the process, how to actually use it. But before we do that, I'd like to tell you a story about how I use the A.P.A.R.T system in a real-life application that really demonstrates how powerful it actually is. And this is the system that dramatically turned around a patient I worked with whose name is Piper and her multiple health issues. We applied it to one issue at a time until we corrected things. Her story is a really common story. She's a 27-year-old female who has Hashimoto's, and she went to her endocrinologist to get blood drawn to see how she was doing. She told him she felt slow and sad and exhausted, and that she kept gaining weight. She also noticed that fatigue and depression tracked with her cycle. And then she was having panic attacks and a racing heart and couldn't fall asleep. And the doctor diagnosed her with postpartum depression and said none of her symptoms were related to her thyroid because her TSH was in the normal range. In spite of all of her symptoms, her doctor actually told her that your body is happy. She was referred to a psychiatrist and told to stop breastfeeding ASAP and given a prescription for Lexapro, which she was told to take until she got in to see the actual psychiatrist. Unfortunately, I've heard some variation of this story about 100 times. Your TSH is normal, your body is happy, diet doesn't matter, adrenal problems and leaky gut aren't real, and you're just depressed. You need Lexapro. Of course, I took an entirely different approach and I said, well, maybe your body isn't entirely happy. Maybe this is a systemic problem that's caused by functional hypothyroidism. Functional hypothyroidism is something I write about extensively in my book. You have enough thyroid hormone in your system, but it isn't getting converted and or absorbed properly, so it isn't working. And for all intents and purposes, you are hypothyroid, even though you don't look like it on paper. So what do? Well, we applied the A.P.A.R.T system. Right, to all the major systems of her body and her brain. And Piper's health started to markedly improve in about 2 weeks. She was able to fall asleep because we worked on her adrenals. We didn't pretend they weren't there. We focused on her diet and worked on her liver and to reduce systemic inflammation and to improve liver function, to get her thyroid hormone to convert better. We also worked on her neurotransmitters and provided targeted nutrition for them so her body could better produce them and so she wouldn't have to go on Lexapro. And sure enough, she feels much, much better. More energy, more mental clarity and focus. The depression has lifted, the anxiety and the moodiness are much improved. So why did the A.P.A.R.T system work when traditional methods didn't? I believe the difference is this. The current Western medical model doesn't empower the patient with tools for adaptation and progressive improvement. The A.P.A.R.T system does. When you take an approach that's adaptable to change, provides you with a blueprint for long-term improvement, then true lasting healing can take place. That's the power of the A.P.A.R.T system. Now, let's take a look at this with something relatively simple, but also super important, kind of deceptively important. It's one of those factors that's key to thyroid hormone absorption. It's essential to the breakdown of absorption of all the vitamins and minerals that are so important for thyroid function. Of course, I'm talking about stomach acid, right? It's responsible for iron, B12, selenium, and magnesium absorption. It's one of those problems that's really commonplace, and inappropriate treatment, giving too many antacids or proton pump inhibitors, can actually make it worse. But stomach acid is incredibly important. And too little stomach acid can be caused by hypothyroidism and functional hypothyroidism. And it can lead to more hypothyroidism because it can prevent you from absorbing the important vitamins and minerals I just mentioned that are so important for a healthy thyroid. All right, so if you recall, the first step of the A.P.A.R.T system is ask and assess. If you're using my book, you can go to page 186, and I'll give you the symptoms of too much stomach acid. Here's a list here. There's a lot of them. Excessive belching and burping, gas immediately following a meal, offensive breath, difficult bowel movements, sense of fullness during and after meals, difficulty digesting fruits and vegetables. Meat, too, is really hard to digest if you don't have enough stomach acid, and undigested food in your stools. All of these are symptoms of hypochlorhydria, or too little stomach acid. Then you can also have symptoms of too much stomach acid, what we call hyperchlorhydria. Right? This is the classic acid reflux, burning, stomach burning, pain, or aching 1 to 4 hours after eating. You feel hungry an hour or two after eating. Heartburn when lying down or bending over, forward. Temporary relief from antacid foods, milk, or carbonated beverages. Digestive symptoms that subside with rest and relaxation. Stress can make it worse. And heartburn due to spicy foods, chocolate, chilies, peppers, alcohol, and caffeine. Okay, so those are all the different symptoms, and actually both sets of symptoms, ironically, both hypo and hyper, can be caused by too little stomach acid. Remember, one thing I discussed there are two issues when we're trying to understand a situation. Right? First, what data do you need to collect? That's really important. And these symptoms I just described are really important data. The next thing is, what do you do with that data? That's also important. So first, you want to take inventory of your symptoms and your signs. So again, ask and assess. And try to figure out how severe each one is. Why do you want to do that? Well, because sometimes progress is incremental. And I see this all the time as a practitioner. People say, yeah, I don't feel any better. This is not working. And then you ask them about their symptoms. So like, for example, do you still have headaches every day? Well, actually, no, I don't. Okay, that's improvement. Are you still constipated? No, actually, I've been having pretty decent bowel movements the last week or so. Okay, how do you feel in the morning? Feel okay in the morning. Well, if you recall, before you said that you felt like you'd been run over by a truck in the morning. Here's the thing. We're not good at remembering things. We sometimes forget and we get discouraged when we should, in fact, be celebrating real progress. But if you're not keeping track, you don't know. And these little improvements matter. That's why we want to keep track of them. Progress is often little steps that you need to acknowledge, because that's what we build on. Those are our building blocks. So go through that list of symptoms, make a note of which symptoms you have and how severe they are. What you can do for that is to use a 0 to 10 scale, 0 being nothing at all, 10 being constant and severe. The next thing you want to do is assess. So assess means, like some sort of laboratory testing or other tests. With the stomach, again, I chose the stomach because there aren't that many things to do here. There's a few tests you might consider. There's a couple we can do at home just to test stomach acid levels. Here's a few of them. You can take a small amount of baking soda in water first thing in the morning. And if you don't belch within a few minutes, then you may not be producing enough stomach acid because hydrochloric acid reacts with baking soda to produce gas, carbon dioxide. You could also take a dose of betaine HCl hydrochloride supplement or apple cider vinegar before the start of a meal. And if you experience any warmth or burning or indigestion associated with this, then you might have plenty of stomach acid. It may not be a problem. If you take that and you really don't feel good, take some baking soda and that will chill it out. And when you are suffering heartburn, to kind of test if it's from too little stomach acid, you can take a tablespoon of fresh lemon juice. If the lemon juice calms down the heartburn, it probably means that you have too little stomach acid. If it makes your heartburn worse, then that's not a problem. Now, there are a couple different tests we can do for you to be aware of. One thing that's a common cause of too little stomach acid is called H. pylori. H. pylori is Helicobacter pylori. It's a common bacteria. A lot of people have it, and for many it's asymptomatic, but it can actually lead to declines in stomach acid. It's also very contagious and can be spread throughout members of your family, and if you do test positive, you need to test everybody. All right, the next step is prioritize and plan. You can't fix everything at once. You got to start with your top issue. What's your number one struggle? So again, I chose the stomach because it's pretty simple. All right, let's identify what the issues are. Do you feel bloated? Do you have lots of burping and gas? Do you feel uncomfortable after your meal? Or are you the other side where you get this heartburn and GERD and these acid reflux type symptoms? Figure out which one. Again, how severe. Then you want to act and adapt. So carry out your plan. Right, with symptoms of too little stomach acid, the plan's pretty simple. Again, take something to boost stomach acid. A little apple cider vinegar, a little fresh ginger, lemon with water, betaine HCl, something. And see what happens. And keep doing it. And note the reactions. With heartburn and acid reflux, if it's really bad, you may need to do something to boost stomach during the meal. Then you may do something in between meals to help calm things down. You also may need to cut out some foods like gluten, dairy, and soy can actually make acid reflux worse. If it's really bad, you may need to heal the lower esophagus, and stuff that's causing burning may make it worse. Slippery elm powder is really good for that. If you tested positive for H. pylori, you're going to have to treat that. Herbs in the berberine family like golden seal and coptis are very effective in treating that bacteria. You don't need antibiotics necessarily. Again, once you do that, keep doing it for a couple weeks and note what happens. Keep your journal. Note what symptoms got better, which ones didn't. Then we reassess and readjust. Go back through, ask yourself about the symptoms again. How severe are they now? Look for improvements. Look for places you didn't improve. If you tested positive for H. pylori, you're going to have to treat it and then retest to see if it's still an issue. And again, if it's a family problem, you need to retest everybody. Okay? See where you are with things. Again, reassess. Find out what worked. Sometimes with the stomach, again, it's pretty simple. You can normalize stomach acid levels and you're good to go. As we age, we tend to have lower and lower stomach acid, so sometimes you may need to continue supplementing. You got to experiment with that. And finally, it's try and try again. Keep doing what's working. That's the last part. This is an ongoing process. You find something that works, keep doing it. Keep refining it. Keep building on your success. Get your stomach normalized, great. If you need to keep supplementing, keep supplementing. Keep track. And once we do that, we want to move on to the next part of the body. In the next video, we're going to go to a slightly more complex system and apply the A.P.A.R.T system there. Okay? So you're starting to get the hang of this? It's not that difficult. It just takes some trial and error and some keeping track of what you're doing. It's really very simple. That's all it is. The great thing about it is, you can apply this system everywhere. Any issue you're having. It's the same thing. So once you do it a few times, it just becomes kind of second nature. And obviously, everything is not as simple as the stomach. Sometimes you're going to have a bunch of things going on with all these different systems interacting. And in the next video, we're going to look at one such connection as we travel further down the digestive tract to the intestines, which is ground zero for autoimmunity and Hashimoto's. Okay, that's where we start to get layer upon layer of complexity and more things that we got to take a look at. So join me for the next video. I'm Mark Ryan, licensed acupuncturist and herbalist from Hashimoto'sHealing.com. And remember, be good, be kind, and remember to have compassion for everyone, including yourself. Hope, help, and healing. With a hint of humor, Hashimoto'sHealing.com.